Commissioner Banks.
You guys are just waiting on me.
Yep.
Waiting on me. I haven't started the meeting. It is now 7 o'clock, so I will call the Wednesday, November 20th, 2024 meeting of the Whitley County Plan Commission to order. If you would all please join us in honoring our country with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Travis Baker.
Here.
Chad Banks.
Here.
Dane Drew.
Here.
Brent Emerick.
Here.
Jack Green.
Here.
Thor Hodges.
Here.
Mark Johnson.
Here.
Kim Kurtz-Seslar.
Here.
Joe Wolf.
Here.
John Woodmansee.
Thank you for that. The next item on the agenda is the consideration and adoption of the previous meeting minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes as they were presented to you, please? Hearing none, I will call for a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the October minutes.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Go to the roll call for a vote, please.
Travis Baker.
Aye.
Chad Banks.
Yes.
Dane Drew.
Abstain.
Brent Emerick.
Yes.
Jack Green.
Yes.
Thor Hodges.
I will abstain.
Mark Johnson.
Yes.
Kim Kurtz-Seslar.
Abstain.
Joe Wolf.
Aye.
Thank you for that. The next item on the agenda will be administration of an oath to the witnesses. So what we are asking at this point, if you think that you plan on speaking tonight, or you think there's a possibility that you might want to speak, we just ask that essentially you're just going to stand up, raise your hand, and just swear that what you're going to say is the truth. That's all we're asking for out of everyone tonight. So, Mr. Lundy, if you would administer the oath, I would appreciate that, please.
If you plan on speaking, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that any statement you make tonight will be the truth? If so, state I do.
I do.
And if something comes up during the meeting and you didn't get affirmed and you feel like you would like to be heard or you want to speak, just let us know that you didn't do the oath and we'll do it as we get to it. We do have a full agenda tonight. We have several items on here, and I think it's going to take some time. I want everybody to have a chance to be heard. And I want everybody, when they do have their chance to be heard, to be respected. So I would ask that for the sake of the full agenda and the issues that you are here to speak about, that we try to be short with our comments and respectful to other people while they're doing their comments. We'll try to keep the meeting moving right along, but I just ask for your help with that. And I thank you in advance for that. Next item on the agenda, we have no old business, so we move to new business. And the first item is 24W Subdivision 18, Zumbrun Minor Subdivision. And we will go to Nathan for a staff report, please.
Sure thing. Thank you, Mr. President. So, 24 WSUBD 18 is a one-lot plat to be called Zumbrun Minor Subdivision. It's located on West 200 South, about 2,000 feet east of Stalf 5 in Richland Township, zoned AG agricultural. What is being proposed is to split a lot off to create a new building site. I believe it's a product of an auction that was held a couple months ago. As submitted, right-of-way dedication was not proposed. I believe that was an oversight when the plat was drawn, so that's one of staff's recommended conditions. Replatting is, platting is required due to the number of previous splits since the 1979 parcel. This is the first platted lot from the 2018 parcel, so no rezoning is required. An additional platted lot could be platted from that parcel as well before rezoning is required. As labeled there in are as shown in the table. All of the zoning requirements are met. The lot width is particularly well over the minimum of 225. Aerial view of the overall property. The subject area is along the north side of 200 on the lower part of the photo. Zoomed in here, you can see the location bounded by the legal drain to the east and an open ditch to the north. And then the rest of the parent tract is being split and recombined, again, as part of that auction result. This is the plat itself, 4.66 acres, inclusive of what will be the dedicated right-of-way, so that overall acreage would be reduced somewhat, but again, it would still be more than the 80,000 square feet minimum. And then the plat overlaid on top of the aerial with contours. There are a handful of comments that have been made, including the one I just mentioned about the right-of-way being dedicated and adjusting the lot area. The first is the standard recommendation for secondary plat being approval being delegated to staff. The second being the standard recommendation for 2 septic sites being determined and approved by the health department. Number 3 comes from comment from the county engineer regarding the fact that the stream to the north is not a legal drain, therefore there is not a requirement for a 75-foot drainage easement there. Number 4 comes from the subdivision code, which requires, unless otherwise deemed unnecessary, that utility and drainage easements be shown on perimeters of lots of a total width of 20 feet. Therefore, 10-foot utility and drainage easements should be shown, again, unless found to be unnecessary. 5 I've mentioned, and then number 6, the county engineer recommended considering an access easement for the maintenance of the drains, even though the drainage easement isn't in effect for a legal drain. Having some sort of easement there for the drains would be recommended. I believe the health department also expressed a bit of a general concern about placement of a home within all of the different constraints. There is a lot of low ground here and rolling topography, but it is still an over 4-acre site, even excluding the right-of-way area. So it does seem that there should be some sufficient space for construction of a dwelling and other outbuildings as may be deemed necessary in the future. So with that, any questions for me?
Thank you, Nathan. At this time, I would ask, is there someone here that would come forward to speak on behalf of this request of this project, please?
Good evening. My name is James McLaughlin with Whiteman Associates out of Plymouth, Indiana. We're the survey company for this plat. So pretty much everything is discussed is true. We are working on adding the dedicated right-of-way along the county road, removing the 75-foot ditch easement for the open ditch, and that's about all I got.
I did leave out one small housekeeping detail, and I'm so sorry. When you do come forward to speak tonight, I do need you to state your name and your address, please. And I think you introduced yourself, but I don't think you gave your address. So if you do that for the record, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, our office address is 1405 North Michigan Street in Plymouth, Indiana.
Thank you so much. Does the commission have any questions, please? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We will now open up a public hearing. And at this time, anybody who wants to speak in favor of or have concerns about this request, this is your time to come forward and speak.
I'm Dan. My name is Dan Attard at 28655 Middle Belt in Farmington Hills, Michigan. I'm the one who bid on the property, and I basically want to understand what the that right-of-way easement is. I wasn't aware of that. If somebody can explain that.
Which right-of-way easement would you be referring to?
There's a 30-foot right-of-way.
Drainage, utilities?
Not necessarily the 30-foot along 200. Is that?
Nathan, you want to answer that, please?
Sure, I can. So as part of plats, any additional right-of-way that is called for in the thoroughfare plan or the comprehensive plan, so in this case, the comprehensive plan, is required to be added to the plat. And so the comprehensive plan calls out a 60-foot total right-of-way for local roads, such as 200 South here. And so as part of this plat, a 30-foot width of right-of-way would be required as part of the platting process. So it's dedicated right-of-way, meaning that it's dedicated to the public. It's not treated as part of the overall lot area, as opposed to an easement, which would be, for example. So that's an important distinction. I can give you more details later, but hopefully, does that clarify mostly?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
We can, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else, please? Last call. Thank you so much. We'll close the public hearing and turn it back over to the commission for your decision.
I would like to note that on the drain that goes through there, even though it's not legal, it does cross underneath the roadway and is on the south and goes to the west and drains the upward section of the farm going out to State Road 5.
Thank you for that.
I'll move for a favorable recommendation for 24W subdivision 18 with the staff recommendations.
I'll second it. I have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion, please? Hearing none, we'll go to roll call for a vote, please.
Joe Wolf,
Aye.
Kim Kurtz-Seslar,
Aye.
Mark Johnson,
Aye.
Jack Green,
Yes.
Brent Emerick,
Yes.
Dane Drew,
Aye.
Chad Banks,
Yes.
Travis Baker,
Yes.
and Thor Hodges.
Yes. And it passes. We'll move forward to the second item on the agenda, 24W subdivision 19, known as Rocky Acres subdivision. Nathan and staff report, please.
Sure thing. Thank you, Mr. President. So this is a replat to be called Rocky Acres. The address of the main address on the property is 2795 East Stalf Road in Thorncreek Township, zoned LR Light Residential. I believe the owner actually lives across Stalf Road along the lakefront. What is being proposed is to reconfigure the existing platted lots and portions of lots along with an unplatted parcel to the east of them into 3 platted lots. There would also be some dedicated right-of-way of varying width. Basically, it's intended to reflect the location of Stalf Road, part of which veers out of existing dedicated right-of-way onto the lot area, and to also line up with the existing dedicated rights-of-way on either side. Variances are requested with the BZA next week for the lot area and potentially for lot width. The one lot is potentially not quite the minimum, it's not the 70 feet that we would be looking at, so that would also need to be included. Platting is due to the size of the lots and the reconfiguration. Because it's zoned LR, no rezoning is required. You can see there the different statistics in the table, and the proposed minimums, again, of lot size and lot width are less than the code minimums of 10,000 square feet and 70 feet for new lots when they are created. Going to reference slides. Highlighted here in blue are the parcels that comprise the subject property and the overall area. Closer view, the purple areas are platted subdivisions. You have 3, 4 in this view. Most notably Cedar Point, and the re-subdivision of Lot 39 of Cedar Point Addition is what comprises the 2 1/4, 2 1/3 platted lots in this proposal, and you can see how they were laid out here. This is the now proposed plat that would reconfigure everything. The existing improvements are legal non-conforming once the building lines are platted with this, and that is going to continue forward. If they wish to have the BZA grant a variance as part of what they've already requested for lot width and area, BZA could do that. We've done that occasionally with some similar cases and occasionally not. It depends on the nature of the case and the petitioner's long-term intents. The plat overlaid on top of the aerial. And finally, the recommended conditions. Number 1, because we do have outstanding need for variances, this plat would be conditioned upon those variances being obtained. Number 2 is the standard delegation of secondary plat approval to staff. And number 3 is in italics because I feel like the BZA, it's a better suited condition for the BZA if they grant variances. But I wanted to put it here in case the Plan Commission wanted to give it some thought to as a condition as well. So it could be either place, neither place, or both places, as the case may be. Any questions for me?
Thank you, Nathan. Is there a representative of this request here tonight that would like to come forward and speak on its behalf?
My name is Ryan Pepler. I'm with Walker and Associates Land Surveyors, and our address is 112 West Van Buren Street in Columbia City. Nathan went over most of this. I just wanted to point out the purpose of this subdivision. As you know, lake lots are small. The potential buyers of lots 1 and 2 own houses across the road and are hoping to purchase this for more parking and an additional storage building on lot 2. So that is the main purpose. The lots 1 and 2 obviously don't meet the size requirements for dwelling. I think Nathan and I talked about adding a note to the plat to that there would not be an ability to build a house on lots 1 and 2. The current outline of the lots actually goes out to the center of the road, which would get both of the lots 1 and 2 up to right around 7,000 or 7,500 square feet each. So it would be closer, but again, we're dedicating that right away, which takes away from those lot sizes. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will now open the public hearing part of this request. And again, anybody who would like to speak for or against this request, this is your time to come forward and express your opinion, please. Last call. I will close the public hearing and I will turn it back to the commission for your decision, please.
I would move for favorable approval of 24W subdivision -19.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion, please?
Does that come with all three of the
with all
recommendations?
the conditions stated by staff.
I think I would like to add to that. I think it's more appropriate for the BZA to discuss your italics than maybe us getting into it, because I think that's where that decision, in my opinion, needs to come from. Any further? Hearing none, we'll go roll call for a vote, please.
Joe Wolf.
Aye.
Kim Kurtz-Seslar.
Aye.
Mark Johnson.
Aye.
Jack Green.
Aye.
Brent Emerick.
Yes.
Dane Drew.
Aye.
Chad Banks.
Aye.
Travis Baker.
Aye.
Thor Hodges.
Yes. Moving forward to item number 3, 24W Subdivision 20, to be known as Piper Subdivision. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a partial replat, similar to the previous one, located on South Williams Drive in Union Township with an address of 1115 South Williams Drive. It's replatting Lot 1 of the Igny Industrial Park, which was platted a handful of years ago, to combine it with an unplatted parcel that had been split recently from the adjacent property to the south. Everything is zoned IPM Industrial Park Manufacturing. As I said, this is to combine the two parcels. It also, importantly, would reconfigure an intervening utility easement. That utility easement actually predates the plat, predates the original split of the lot, and so it's, in order to eliminate it, the petitioner would actually have to go back through a lot of title work and so on. It's not simply something that the Plan Commission can eliminate because of that. If this was only a platted easement, that would be an option. Because it predates the plat, moving it is an option, and that's what is being proposed. Doing so would wind up allowing for additional space for the petitioner's proposed building construction. I believe they're building an outbuilding, planning to build an outbuilding in addition to the existing building. No dedicated right-of-way is proposed because it was previously dedicated as part of that existing plat. And again, you can see the statistics there on the table. Highlighted in blue are the two parcels in question. The purple is the platted Igny Park. A little closer view. The proposed plat, that dashed line there is that existing easement that would be reconfigured along that new south property line, lot line, and overlaid on top of the aerial for comparison. This being a already well-developed area, and everything basically is just a combination of lots, not really so much re-subdividing lots. Staff's recommendation is just that the secondary plat approval be delegated. Any questions for me?
Thank you, Nathan. Is there a representative of this request to come forward at this time and speak, please?
My name is Ryan Pepler with Walker and Associates, 112 West Van Buren Street. We were tasked with helping the current owners to, they purchased the piece down to the south that's not in purple on the screen and from the adjoining property, and they're just now trying to combine those two pieces into one. The easement that Nathan was talking about was 20 foot in width. It actually is a little bit north of there. It goes kind of through their parking lot, existing parking lot. That easement is now being dedicated as a 20-foot utility and drainage easement along the south line of that new property line that's down at the south end. So the easement is just being moved to a different location. That's all I have.
Thank you. We'll open a public hearing, and this is the opportunity for anybody that'd like to speak For or against this request, to please come forward. Last call. Thank you so much. We'll close the public hearing. Turn it back to the commission for your favor, please.
I move to approve subdivision, 24W subdivision -20, subject to the staff recommended condition.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote, please.
Travis Baker,
Aye.
Chad Banks,
Aye.
Dane Drew,
Aye.
Brent Emerick,
Aye.
Jack Green,
Yes.
Mark Johnson,
Aye.
Kim Kurtz-Seslar,
Aye.
Joe Wolf,
Aye.
Thor Hodges.
Yes. We'll move forward then to item number 4, 24W rezone 6, Esterline rezoning request. Staff report, please.
Thank you again, Mr. President. So, this is a rezoning request for 3.256 acres, give or take, on West State Road 14 with an address of 8324 West State Road 14. Currently zoned AG agricultural. Current uses include single-family residence, farming and gardening, including some livestock, raising, a short-term rental operation that actually was originally approved as a secondary dwelling unit and converted into a short-term rental, and a brewing operation with an accessory tap room. That was allowed by special exception. I'll give you some more details on that in a second. The request is to rezone the property to VC Village Commercial with the intention to permit the expansion of the business as a restaurant and event site. Restaurants are permitted in VC. Other uses are special exceptions, including, well, again, I have another table that will show that. The current surrounding uses, virtually everything is zoned AG agricultural, except for as you go farther east, you get into South Whitley's jurisdiction and their A1 agricultural zoning area, a few hundred feet farther to the east. Surrounding uses to the east and west are residences and agricultural fields. To the north and south, you have former railroad right-of-way, and then fields. To the south, you have State Road 14, a residence, woods, the Eel River, and then farther south you get, again, into agricultural. Going to the reference highlighted there in light blue is the subject site. State Road 14 cuts across the middle of that picture. Of course, South Whitley is the cluster of parcels there to the east. Closer view showing the existing property and buildings on the property, and I believe there are 4 homes outside of the petitioner's property that are shown here. For reference, the zoning map, there are 2 colors of green here. A1 is slightly darker green as you go east. As you look at it, the rest of the area is zoned AG agricultural, with one exception there in the town of Collimer. As you look to the middle left of the screen, there is one parcel in Collimer itself that is zoned GC general commercial, I believe. It was historically a repair shop, is what I could, some sort of garage is what
Robert Spotted Shop.
What was it?
Robert Spotted Shop.
Okay. The overall future character and land use map from the comprehensive plan, and as we zoom into the area, the particular property is, it's not exactly clear because the resolution doesn't get close enough in this area, but there is some cream colored mixed rural character type that follows State Road 14 outward from South Whitley towards Collimer. Again, that's flanked by the rural agricultural character types to the north and south. Because of the tightened terrain of the map here, it really is open to the Plan Commission and commissioners to figure out which is the most appropriate character type as it applies. To that end, the mixed rural character description, I won't read all of this. This is straight from the conference plan. But notably, the mixed rural is to expect existing agricultural operations to continue throughout the planning time frame, 15-20 years, but also residential or other development may also be expected to occur, and especially as that pressure does continue, context-sensitive new development should also be anticipated. And context-sensitive is important. You don't want to necessarily allow everything that may be proposed in the mixed rural, but you should allow for some approvals for development to happen. As you read through those guidelines there, I highlight the third one, new or expanded CFOs beyond what exists currently would be out of character. That doesn't apply here, as far as I know. The second part of that would be this character type can also include appropriately located small-scale commercial that meets the immediate need of, that meets the immediate local needs. And that was intentional to allow for, say, corner commercial operations that may be located to serve that increasing residential development in these areas. But there could be other local needs, and I give some examples in the written staff report of what that could be. This you've seen several times before. This is the rural agricultural character description, just again for cross-reference. This too, notably, calls out for some provision for smaller scale commercial operations, but notably the language here suggests that such commercial operations be not only smaller scale, but also supporting and possibly supporting agricultural operations more generally. So a very similar wording, but not quite the same. Primary uses for mixed rural are agricultural, except for new CFOs, single and two-family residential, secondary uses being that local scale commercial and retail, as well as institutional uses and civic uses, and then, as it may be relevant, the rural agricultural primary and secondary uses are agricultural, single-family residential, more intense agricultural, ag-related businesses, small-scale commercial and retail, institutional and two-family. As I said, I would come back to the current usage. I give more details in the written staff report than on the slides, so hopefully you've had a moment or two to digest that. But the current uses I already read. The brewing operation in particular was approved as a special exception by the BZA under the AG district for the processing of agricultural crops, not to include slaughterhouses. That's the use as defined in the zoning code. As part of that, an accessory tap room was also approved for retail sales, farm market sales, and tasting and general consumption, but again, more as a retail operation. There were quite a few conditions of approval that were attached to that approval to suit the comments that were made at the special exception hearing and to help that use fit into the overall neighborhood. As I said in the written staff report, we received complaints from neighbors, and actually not a complaint from NDOT, but an inquiry from NDOT. That's a little bit misleading there on the slide, I apologize, but NDOT also inquired about the nature of the business. The complaints were that the operation has exceeded the conditions of approval. The BZA considered a revision request earlier this year to address some of that. That was denied. I won't go into exactly why it was denied, but they felt that the overall scale really was not appropriate as a special exception. The rezoning request then could or would address some of the scale and intensity issues that come along with it being a special exception in AG by changing this to commercial, a light commercial as village commercial. And how that would work is summarized in this table, which is also in the written staff report. For comparison, I included both the proposed village commercial there in the middle column and the more general commercial zoning, which permits a different palette of commercial uses. And then also what is permitted and not permitted under the current AG zoning. And you can see there are a lot of consistencies through it. Livestock raising is permitted under AG, crop cultivation, agricultural operations, farming are all permitted currently, and under commercial zoning, that would also be permitted under the right to farm laws. GC does allow for crop cultivation uniquely, whereas VC does not, so that's a quirk there. Single-family residence would become a special exception under both commercial districts. So if this were to become commercial and they wanted to expand the residence, then a special exception would need to be sought for that. Short-term rentals are protected under state law. However, bed and breakfasts, if this was a bed and breakfast instead of just a Airbnb, that would be a special exception under the current AG, but permitted a permitted use under both BC and GC. The secondary dwelling unit, if, as I mentioned, was a previously approved special exception under AG, that is a special exception. They are special exceptions under village commercial, not permitted under GC. The brewing operation is a special exception under both AG and BC, as well as GC, but the nature of the special exception switches to being light manufacturing in GC as opposed to that processing of agricultural crops under both AG and BC. So a little bit of a difference in what the Board of Zoning Appeals would be looking for if and when that brewing operation would change and need a special exception. As it is, because there is an existing approved special exception under AG, if this were to go to VC, that would carry forward because it's special exception under both. Going to the proposed uses, the tap room is existing. Restaurant use, which is more broadly defined, is proposed. The tap room as an accessory use was part of that special exception. Restaurant would be permitted under both VC and GC. And then finally, because event hosting and event center, I don't want to call this a reception hall, that's not what's proposed, but hosting events is part of the overall use as proposed. That is not permitted under the AG zoning district, would be a special exception under the village commercial, and would be permitted by right under general commercial, again, for reference. So that is what I have for the slides on the staff report. I'm not going to go through all of the criteria in more detail than what's already presented in the written staff report. So at this point, do you have any questions for me?
When did the BZA, when was that meeting where they denied increase of scope or scale?
That was, I believe, in July.
Okay. And was the petitioner given any direction from staff to move forward with VC versus GC?
Yes, we basically did that table and outlined how each use would be permitted or not permitted as the case may be. And the VC seemed to line up best. Again, the brewing operation maybe was the hinge point, going from a special exception as essentially an agricultural operation to a light manufacturing operation, and that change of criteria was probably the main thing. Also, a more general principle that BC is a quote-unquote lighter commercial district than general commercial, and this is in a otherwise agricultural area with homes around it. So that's, again, more of a generalized principle, but those two factors were what staff recommended to the petitioner to seek BC as a rezoning if they wish to rezone.
Okay, thanks, Nathan.
Was the special exception denied because of the commission thought that they were outgrowing their footprint, or was it because they think that that the special exception rules were not applying to this?
I defer to the two BZA members to give more details on that rather than trying to interpret what they had said.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Jack.
Will do.
Thank you. It was a 3-2 vote. I think really what the reason it was denied is because it has outgrown its footprint.
Yeah.
So, and with the neighbors' complaints, because there are houses on both sides within 75 feet, 150 feet of their tap room and that. And I can remember when this first came before the BZA, and we had talked about, I think we were thinking that once, it's been phenomenal growth for them, but that growth has happened so fast that to relocate it is probably not part of their business plans right now. Because to move all the brewing equipment and that's going to cost money, and to get a storefront somewhere, so you move it into South Whitley.
Yeah.
So
I was just trying to get the reasoning for the denial.
and there are some parking. There was complaints about some parking issues and events not within the time frame of conditions that were put forth for business hours.
Okay, yeah. I was just wanting some background there.
Any other questions for Nathan, please? Thank you, Nathan. Is there a representative here of this request that would come forward at this time, please?
Hi there, my name is Alex Downard. I'm the president of Downard Development Strategies. Address is 250 Main Street, LaGrow, Indiana. First of all, thanks for having me this evening. Thanks for the invitation from Jay and Jennifer. My work in Wabash County, and it revolves around other rural communities on the implementation of their countywide comprehensive plan, all geared around quality of life, quality of place investments. And the same consultant that wrote this comprehensive plan with you all planning next out of Ohio was the same one that wrote our plan in Wabash County, Indiana. I know there's a lot of folks here to speak on this tonight, and Nathan did a very thorough job on walking through what the change means. Mainly, I want to just speak to the importance of assets and amenities like this to rural communities. I grew up in Indianapolis, metro area, city of 2 million people, now live in a town of 400 in Wabash County, and it's because of things like this and amenities like this that draw young people, keep young people, make kids that grew up here want to move back to places like this. And it's truly an amenity and an asset unique to Whitley County in this area, being the only farm brewery in the state of Indiana. Amenities like that not only are great to attract visitors, but like I said, are so important when it comes to talent attraction and retention for rural communities when it's hard enough to compete as small businesses not having access to the big incentives that major companies have. But statistically, we know that those major business investments and the great work that's done in this community and others around economic development, that business attraction effort is supported by amenities like this in housing and other quality of life, quality of place investments in communities. And so while this change and the thorough details about this zoning change, this business and its location is crucially important, not just to Whitley County or the direct area, but the region in the state of Indiana to have assets and amenities like this in our rural communities. So with that, I know you all have in your packet letters of support, signatures on a petition from over 100 residents in the area, and I would be happy to answer any questions now or defer to questions after the public hearing, whatever your guys' typical procedure is.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
I will now open the public hearing section of this request. And again, don't sit there and be the last one. If you intend to speak, let's keep it orderly, let's keep it polite, and let's keep it moving. So the floor is open. The public hearing has started. Yep. As I said, just introduce yourself with your address, and the floor is yours.
Hi, my name is Michelle Camacho. My address is 1344 North State Road 13 in Pearson. And my husband and I are the owners of the Twisted Tiki food truck. And so we've had the pleasure of getting to know the Esterlines in both a professional and a business setting. They've had us frequent their brewery with our food truck. And we absolutely love what they're doing. We think that what they're doing is vital to this community. Our food truck has thousands of social media followers. Every time we come to their community, we're drawing multiple people from outside of the community who probably otherwise would not be visiting South Whitley. And so, you know, I would just encourage that any way that we can help to support and promote their business would be amazing for not only them, but for the entire community.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Paul Scheffler. I'm at 4680 West, 500 North, Columbia City, out here at Troy Cedar Lake. A lot of these benefits, I'm just going to go down a couple of points because they've already been, you know, listed numerous times. But the benefits of having that brewery in that area of the county are huge. There's an economic benefit, as you guys all recognize. There's a trickle-down effect because they're not only, you know, having a tax base that they're adding revenue to the county there, they're also the trickle out or the ripple effect of having that business buy its bread, its meat, their marketing and branding associates are here in Whitley County. There's a lot of those different things that also impacts economically other businesses in the area. So it's not just about one business located on State Road 14. It's about all the other businesses that ripples out from that by them being here in our county. The second point was tourism and local attractions, and she just said it best, was all of the people that I've had conversations with out at the brewery that are actually coming from outside the area that wouldn't have come in to that corner of Whitley County without the brewery being there. And I'm talking about people from Kosciuszko, people from Wabash County, North Manchester, people from Fort Wayne, as far away as Elkhart and South Bend. So there is a huge tourism and local attraction benefit there. The last point I wanted to make, to be brief, is just the community engagement. They've created a sense of community out there that I didn't have before in Whitley County. My wife and I, you know, frequent other breweries in the area. We're volunteers at several places, and we went to Fort Wayne before e-brewing was established. That sense of community with their bingo that they do every other Friday night and their give back, you know, so they give back to charities. The proceeds of all that bingo is beneficial. Their music that they have in, they bring in artists and entertainers. All of these things, again, it goes back to the tourism and local attraction, but it's the community engagement. I can't begin to count the number of people because I worked for a company that sent me off to travel for years, like the last 20 years of my working career. I can't believe the number of people that I've re-encountered out there at the brewery that I hadn't engaged with for years and years because I worked out of the area. And so you do have a community engagement and a sense of family that's brought together out there. And there's, to my knowledge, there's nothing out in that corner of the county that has created that kind of an atmosphere before. And to me, those are probably three of the top benefits that having the brewery in the community is helpful to. So I just wanted to share that. Questions? Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else, please?
Hi, my name is Charlotte Terhar. We live at 8325 West State Road 14, across from the Ester Lines. We are here to oppose them having their commercial VC, whatever you want to call it. We are the neighbors across the street from them. The Walpoles and the Smiths are here also. They are to the east and west of them. They've just, when they originally approved this, my husband and I were on a scheduled vacation. We sent a certified letter for the reasons why we didn't want this in our country area. All the neighbors signed a petition also at that time that was brought forth. We were unable to attend that meeting. They approved it, but they approved it with like guidelines that they had to follow. And several times they have gone outside those guidelines. The Waffles have lived there over 50 years to the east. East of you? I think they're to the east and east or west. Anyways, the Smiths to the other side of them, they're 35 years. We've been there 25 plus years. There's just a lot more traffic going in there. They've had trouble with parking from the very beginning. We've had people actually park across the street at our barn. We have people turning around in our driveways every weekend. One weekend they had 5 vans, 2 food trucks, and they were telling them to go down and park at the high school, and they were transporting them back to their venue. I'm not saying they don't have a nice venue. They have a nice venue. But the board said once they outgrew that venue that they would need to find another location. And they just seem to want to keep getting bigger and bigger. They have one entrance for their residents, their Airbnb, and their brewery. In their original plan, they said nothing about vans and food trucks. This was supposed to be a farm to fork, small microbrewery, in their own words, small microbrewery. They expanded the tap room without a permit, according to their original, this original thing that they gave to the board the first time they presented it to them. This here was supposed to be the tap room. They've expanded it across the front without a permit. They're having fundraisers and breakfasts. One morning they had them rolling in like 8 o'clock. They had a breakfast over there. That's not the approved operation hours that they gave them. They're the guidelines that they were supposed to follow. They had a fundraiser for campaign fundraiser for Teresa Basinger, and I'm sure if she knew that that wasn't approved for her to be there, they wouldn't have had that there. But I'm sure they weren't aware of that. election night was another night. They had something going on over there. Pictures were taken and posted on their page. The last meeting that they were denied to be open 7 days a week, they were operating at that time for a full year without an entertainment permit. And as soon as I brought that up a week later, they had applied and were approved for their entertainment permit, but did operate for a year without it. They put up on fences on the east and west sides of their property, all fine and good. If they were in town, they would have had to put the nice side to the neighbors and the other side to themselves. They didn't. They put the nice side to them, except for the fence part that faces the road, State Road 14. They put the nice side out facing the road. I think they're kind of operating on the assumption to ask forgiveness instead of permission. They're just kind of doing what they want, even though they were denied. Also, at that last meeting, they said they did a 6-month environmental study with the Whitley County Sheriff's Department, and one of the board members asked for documentation on that, and I asked the board to see that documentation. They never got that documentation, and the Sheriff's Department told one of the board members that they didn't know anything about it. I think because they're coming up for renewal in the spring on their exception, that's why they're trying to go village commercial. Like, we live in the country. We want to keep it that way. We don't want a bunch of traffic 7 days a week. They still approved them for their 3 days a week. Now they want to do 7 days a week. They want to have events over there whenever they feel like it. And it's just disturbing our peace and quiet. And we don't feel that that's fair when we've been there over 100 years combined with the properties that are pretty much connecting them. Everybody has the right to pursue their dreams. But they don't have to do it across the street from us. They said if they grew, they need to find a different venue, and they continue to try to make it bigger and bigger. We are one of the ones that filed a complaint. The Smiths and the Waffles also have filed a complaint. I don't know the difference between village commercial, but village commercial, these are all the permitted uses for village commercial. These are the special exceptions, and what they're zoned agricultural right now with special exceptions. This is what they're allowed, and these are this is what they're allowed, and these are the special exceptions. So this opens it up to they can pretty much do whatever they want over there. Like there's just a lot more uses, and so they've already done things that they didn't they kind of manipulated and didn't tell everybody this is what they were going to do. They kind of just said, we just want to have a small brewery. They've also posted "F you to the haters" on their page. Hate is a strong word. We don't hate them. We just don't want that over there. Because we've filed complaints, we're haters. We're not. That has nothing to do with that. We just want to keep our quiet community, and with that happening over there and it getting bigger and bigger, it's not quiet anymore. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Jennifer Esterline, 8324 West State Road 14, South Whitley. One of the owners. I just want to do a rebuttal real quick. I'm also the Chamber of Commerce. So my whole goal is economic development for Whitley County. I live and breathe what we do as an example to our county and our region and our state. I live under a microscope because of that. And so we are extremely careful of what we do and how we represent our county and our business. When it comes to our events that we have held, we have openly posted on our property when we have an event, or if we have a group of individuals that visit us, that it is private party, private event, not open to the public. Under our special exception, that is for the tap room to be open for the public. When Esterline Farms hosts an event, just like any other farm, just like having FFA groups out, or if Gables down the street has their You Pick Strawberries, we have rights as a farmer. We're farmers. I'm a rancher. When we have groups over, one of the ones that they were complaining about, we literally had autistic kids come over to get pumpkins, and we get harassed. We had a GOP meeting, 8 a.m., closed door, private event, posted. And we knew they were out there taking pictures. We did a fundraiser at every one of those. And that money went to Gary Bird for Reese Across America. We held a special political event. Esterline Farms hosted it. Not $1 went to e-brewing. All that money was raised and given over to our commissioners of whatever they need to do with it. It went to our nonprofit of the month. Not $1 came to e-brewing. We have never had an accident. We've never had an issue. We didn't have an environmental study. We had a sound study. And we did. Every weekend, we kept tabs of the decimals because my biggest concern was upsetting our neighbors. I came from a rural community that had public events and nothing, we didn't want to bother them. We care about our neighbors too. They might not think we do, but we do. We make sure our bands are shut down well before 10 o'clock. Most of the time it's 6 to 9, well beyond any kind of sound ordinance. And by the way, we don't actually have a sound ordinance. And Jason will tell you he won't come out before 11 o'clock. And we are so proactive. We actually hire the sheriff's department if we know we're having bands that might actually bring in a lot of people. And we have the sheriff's department take care of our guests. So we don't bother the neighbors, that they don't get parked out there. When we first opened, yes, we didn't think we would be as successful as we were. And they were parking, and we immediately got people off the streets. We didn't want to be another Union 12. We did not want to be anybody's problem. And so we rectified it. We were proactive and got people out there. And so whenever we might have something, we hire them. And we have that. When it came to the one BZA member that said that Jason said that we did not, I immediately met with Jason. And he said, I didn't know anything about it. That was my next one in command. And he was supposed to get hold of Kelly Shees and inform her that he did have the okay, and that was misinformation. So we make sure everybody is taken care of. When it comes to the fence, we hired local. We had the best fence put in that literally you could buy. We made sure our area is beautiful. We are a farm first. We grow our own hops. We grow our own produce. We utilize that. We are not some huge corporate business or commercial plan. We are a small microbrewery, 3-barrel system. And yes, we are popular. Isn't that what you want to be when you're a business? Nothing is more hurtful as somebody that drives economic development and to be told you are too successful for this area. How backwards is that? Is that, as a business owner, what we need to share? Especially in South Whitley, because I mean, give me something here. There's not much in South Whitley. I love that community, but we need to draw people there. We need representation. It's in our comprehensive plan. State Road 14 is on that stretch that we are looking for small commercial businesses. We need growth. And a lot of these individuals, I don't know if it's the generation or what it might be, but we're growing. If you had kids, if they have grandkids, do you want them to stay? I want my kids to stay. I want my grandkids to want to stay. We need something. One of the best letters you received was from Varga. And Teddy is words of our generation in their 20s. They want something here to keep them here. I want the money to stay here. I work for the county. I know people in the city. Why are we giving it away to Allen County and Kosciuszko County when we can have stuff here? And the problem is we're not having enough support, and so businesses are leaving, they're going under. And once again, that's under me. I'm the chamber. But why don't we lead by example and show positive growth? And you know, for us, it's showing that there's another way to also utilize farmland. There's not a whole lot you can do with 4 acres, under 4 acres. You can develop it and put some more homes on it. But what about us that I'm an ag teacher by trade. I want to show what you can do with agriculture. And we're producing an agriculture product. And it encourages tourism and it includes community support. I'd also like to mention that there's not too many businesses around here that are as small as us. Keep in mind, there's 3 of us, 2 owners and a brewer, that we literally give away over $1,000 a month to every nonprofit that we bring in. And that is because they support us, and so we support them. We also utilize over 20 local companies every weekend. We're not looking at having massive hours or anything like that. We just need some more days open and to be able to, I can have a GOP meeting. Or if I have SDI call up and say, hey, I have some executives. We normally go to NOAA and Warsaw. We'd love to stay in Whitley County. Can we come over and have our executive meeting at your place? That's all we're looking for. We still want people to come over. They see the goats. They bring their kids. We're dog friendly. How many places can say that they have that? And we do. So, you know, I'm not asking for a whole lot. I'm just asking to, you know, it is our dream. It's something that we've loved giving back to the community, especially somebody that's not originally from here. And I will tell you, coming from the West Coast, I was not easily accepted. But now I have found my niche, and we have a family, and it's hard to find that. And I'll tell you, when we are full, we're full. It's not like we're cramming them in. It's first come, first serve. We have parking, and that's it. If we have special events and the sheriff's department tells them to go down to the school to park and come in, that's great. But we let the sheriff's department handle it. We are proactive. We are pro-neighbor. We listen to them. Heck, we even put a gate in for Tom's side because Tom's wife and kids come over whenever they're in town, and we make sure Brenda's taken care of. Plus, they also like our chickens. But, you know, it's not some war or anything like that. We are here for the community, and we're just trying to give something else that nobody else is doing, especially on the south side of this county. So, thank you for having us.
My name's Tom Smith, 8300 West State Road 14, South Whitley. My property joins Esther Lines to the east. They say they raise their own crops. I haven't seen a crop raised on that property in 2 years. They talk about wanting to get this place bigger. The frontage on this is only approximately 300 feet. 150 feet of it is houses and that rental property they got. I built my house years ago, and they come out and check my driveway before they put the driveway in. the state come out and checked it. They said, we can't stop you from having a driveway for your house, but we won't let you have a business. So I wanted to know why I couldn't have a business, but they can. So I went over to NDOT in Fort Wayne and talked to Jason M. Hanaway, PE, project engineer. I explained to him what was going on. He says he didn't know anything about it. He says to start with, they have to go to him and get a plan for that. They have to go out and check it. He says he looked at the map on the computer. He says, well, that driveway isn't right anyway. He said for a commission, or this commerce or whatever it is, you have to have 2 driveways. It has to be paved, and the parking lot has to be paved, and you have to have a pull-off. There's no way in the world they can have a pull-off in front of that. There's not enough room. And with the first or second meeting we went to, I'll grant you, they're doing good. But they told them if they get bigger, they should start looking for another place to have their business. And there's not enough room now. If it gets bigger, it's going to be a mess. And that's all I have, sir. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
I wasn't here beforehand to stand up.
You swear or affirm that any statement you make will be the truth. So say I do.
Alice Eshelman, 6755 East, 900 South, Columbia City. I think, I want to say that what a gem South Whitley has in Esterline's property and their business, and they should be doing everything they can to protect it and help them grow. I know from my experience in Roanoke, once you have a successful business, it attracts more business to existing businesses, helps them grow, and then encourages others to join in, have the businesses, and the financial aspect of the whole community can increase and be productive for the community as a whole. I know there's growing pains. There's some lessons learned. Some of the complaints from what I was hearing were part of not understanding maybe what the guidelines were on both sides maybe. But I think part of it also goes back to state tourism promotes agritourism, and they want agritourism, and that'll help bring people to Indiana and help grow our communities, and especially our rural communities. But we don't have the zoning figured out for agritourism because there's a mix, and we discovered that, and you all helped us come in line with what we're trying to do in Whitley County, and I think we should be trying to do whatever we can to help the Esterlines accomplish their goals. Isn't it great to be doing something you love and being successful at that? And don't we all want to have a job that we love? So anyway, so that's what I have to say, and good luck.
Anyone else, please? Last call. Close the public hearing and put it back over to the commission for a decision, please.
Nathan, I have a question. What is the nearest A1 zoned property? I know that's part of South Whitley, but.
Give me a second and I'll give you a measurement. It would be approximately 1,600 feet to the east, which would be the Gable Farm. So let me see here. So if you see the large property that runs as one parcel north and south, that is zoned A1 in the town's jurisdiction. And that is the Gable, I think someone called it the Gable U-Pick, Gable Farm, whatever you may call it. So the town's jurisdiction is only about a quarter-mile away.
Okay. And how does A1 differ significantly from AG?
They are very comparable. There are some differences, particularly when you get to the special exceptions. The primary uses are very similar. I'd have to go get the municipal code to give you a more complete answer, though.
As I look at it, I don't discount what they're doing. I think what they're doing is great. Are we asking a lot for 3.2 acres to house all of this? Is the question I have for the commission. I don't discount anything they're doing. That's my question to the commission on where I see this. Are we asking a lot of 3.2 acres on a narrow state highway through there?
I think the answer to that question, in my opinion, is yes. And you can rezone this. It will not make the property any bigger. And I think that is what the BZA has repeatedly had a problem with, from my understanding.
I personally think that it makes sense. I think that the request to be rezoned to VC, it comes not only from the petitioners, but with guidance from staff on what they should be requesting. I've been to the business, and I will throw out there as a disclaimer that I have been to the place many times and I enjoy it. But I say that because I don't let that play into any decision that I would make based off of being on this commission. But I think that what they're asking to do to me makes sense. I've been there more times where I've had to turn around and leave than what I've actually been able to stay. And I've been disappointed in that. But that's part of, I think, what we're talking about with the size of the property. That's what their ability to have events or have people there is limited by the amount of room that they have. And their room isn't going to get any bigger, and that's going to confine them to being, I think, the size of operation that they are now. And I think, in my opinion, whether it's done on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday along with that, I think maybe that would even out everybody that wanted to come visit, and it wouldn't necessarily be as crowded of a time for the times that they are allowed to operate. So I would push back on that just a little bit and say that the size of the property is probably, with the opposition I hear, is probably in favor of the opposition because they don't have any place to expand. There's no other land to buy, and I think the operation that they're running is the type of businesses that we do want to attract and support.
Nathan, do you know, does South Whitley have an ETJ? like Columbia City?
Yeah, that would be what the measurements I just gave you were to their EPJ limit. The corporate boundaries are quite a bit farther away from that then.
Okay.
So if we do the village commercial, do they have free reign to expand as much as they want, or is there limitations to that?
It's my understanding that if it gets rezoned, then it's essentially just going to open it up to a 7-day or 6 or 7 day of the week opportunity, because there really isn't. The room there is not there to grow. They can grow their business by being open more days, but there's no room to grow the business. I think if that were possible, they would have probably, and again, it's conjuncture, but they probably would have put in a bigger parking lot at this time, by this time. And that's not happened.
I think there's been a lot of good points made. I do agree that South Whitley does need something like this. I've been to the business multiple times, and really in South Whitley, you've got maybe a couple restaurants and this, and it's not, I wouldn't go there. I mean, to be 100% honest with you, I would not go to South Whitley if it wasn't there. So I guess I agree that there are some land restrictions, but I think it is a business that deserves to be in Whitley County.
I'm not denying that it doesn't deserve to be in Whitley County. I just, the questions I had with the footprint of the property and the business, that was the questions I had. I'm more power to them to do what they're doing. So.
Can I say
something? Not really at this point. I'm sorry. It's kind of came to the commission, and we're kind of hashing it out. I appreciate that, though. Appreciate your understanding.
So again, for them to continue the brewing operation, if it were to change to VC, would still have to go before the BZA?
No, let me go to that slide that has the table on it. So the brewing operation as processing of agricultural crops is a special exception under AG and under VC. And so as long as that operation, the brewing operation itself, abides by the existing special exception approval, it would carry forward without need for additional approval. If this was GC, for example, we might be looking at something else, but even so, if it's existing and continues to comply with what's existing, we wouldn't make them come before the board again.
I got you. Thank you.
How about on the, right now, the event center, it's not permitted under AG, but under VC it says special exception. Would that one have to come in front of the board?
That would, and that is why I highlighted that one there at the bottom. And the petitioner would need to work with staff to determine exactly the nature of the use. Is it a restaurant use that has music? Is it more of an event center? As I said, this is not a proposed reception hall. But at that point, we would determine whether the definition of a banquet hall / event center would be tripped and a special exception needed. It's not clear at this point.
Their use of the Republican Party coming over as an event, it sounded like they did that under Esterline Farms. Is that in the tap room? Okay. Is there's delineation between all that?
And that's exactly what I'm getting at.
That's how they're getting around the special exception. Part of that is use the.
So what would govern hours of operation and days of the week?
The applicable special exception conditions would carry forward. However, the tap room would be converted to a restaurant use, which would be permitted. So that in legal counsel can correct me if I'm wrong in this interpretation, but it would be my interpretation that because the restaurant use is permitted, no longer would you need to have those conditions of approval specific to that tap room use, because they're replaced with the rezoning with that restaurant use, which is permitted by right. If we had a gray area there of a quote unquote tap room not fitting in, it'd be a different matter, but as proposed, it would be replaced with a quote unquote restaurant use.
Thank you.
That would have unlimited hours.
That would not be regulated.
Yeah, not unregulated hours. Nathan, refresh my memory. We do a lot more subdivision work than we do rezoning. We've got 4 choices in this matter, correct?
Correct. For rezonings, you have the option to pass forward a favorable recommendation of the request to the county commissioners. You have the option to pass forward an unfavorable recommendation to the commissioners. You can send it to the commissioners with no recommendation. So, yeah, I guess I said that right. So no recommendation. You can continue it, and then another half option would be you could add conditions or commitments to any of those options except for continuance. So if you wanted to request or require some sort of zoning commitment as part of a recommendation, that would also be an option with any of those.
Thank you for clarification. That's what I was thinking. So that's kind of our 4 options tonight with the caveat.
What was that for?
Those are our 4 options.
Okay.
And we can send it to the commissioners with a favorable recommendation. We can send it to the commissioners unfavorable. We can send it to them with no recommendation, or we can postpone it to gather further information to make the decision. Or on the first 3, we can add, as Nathan said, caveats to it as conditions that we would want to see included.
Well, I feel that we should probably do our duty and make, instead of passing it off or pushing it out, we need to make a decision this evening, I feel, on which one of the 4 are we going to do as a committee.
Well, and just with your statement in itself, that limits us down to 3 because it gets rid of the 1. So we're past that. But I agree with you because if we can't come to an agreement, or anybody up here does not want to make a recommendation, it can be sent to the commissioners with a no recommendation, and we've done that before. That's something that we've employed before. And let's keep in mind that our jobs here, even with the commissioner on this commission, our job here is as a second hand, a subcommission for the commissioners to help them gather information and make decisions for the community. And if we feel like we can't do that, or we can't come up with that decision, then it makes most sense to just give it to the commissioners and put the work back on them, because they're the ones that end up ultimately either going with whatever recommendation that we give them, or they can strike out on their own, the 3 of them, and they can overrule or rule in a different way on anything that we do or decide. So I agree
I
with you
think
on
we,
that.
we
Chad.
know how one of them's gonna vote.
And I would add, Thor, well, I would add, Thor,
Recommendation.
that this is an unordinary circumstance. I don't know if any of us have seen before when you have one commissioner, make their thoughts known and try to persuade the planning commission that can certainly change things, and I don't think we've seen that before.
I've been on the plan commission. I'm not saying that you have or haven't. I've been on the plan commission for long enough now that I've seen everybody up here have a conflict, either perceived or real. Not everybody. I've seen a lot of people on the plan commission have conflicts, either perceived or real, that have to be addressed, and that's exactly why I threw out what I did. And I think when we're in a community, where we all are here to serve, we know people, everybody knows us, so there's always going to be those conflicts. So I would say that
Everybody up here as well,
yeah, I would say that
every decision is.
everybody up here has, I would think.
I just remember some past comments that you've made where you thought it was inappropriate for commissioners to make their feelings known before the planning commission in the past. So
I'm sorry, but I don't remember that. Maybe I have, and I felt differently about a different topic. So yeah. I'm sorry. I don't recall that, Brent.
Well, thank
I'm
you.
not denying it.
I'm just trying to get some clarification.
Yeah, I'm not denying it, but I mean, if everybody, we all can't sit up here and abstain from issues that involve community people, otherwise we wouldn't get anywhere. I mean, we've made decisions. We've had to make decisions before for people that sit on the commission. So those are all difficult decisions. But we've got a good group of people, and we got a workshop here. I mean, let's work on this. What are you guys thinking? We're hesitant to make a motion, so let's get a motion on the floor and let's move. Everybody sitting up here's got their opinions probably already made up.
In this case, Mr. President, do you think it would be advisable to ask our county commissioner for his opinion?
Thanks. Bust. You.
I guess, let's backtrack. I have not read the letter, or I don't have the letter that you're referring to, so.
It should have been in your packet, Thor. It's written by Teresa, who they said frequented their business. So it's somewhat hard to read because of the typos, but it's a letter of support.
Here. Oh, he's gone.
Okay, and I apologize. I guess when you made that comment, I thought you were referring to Chad because you were looking down here at us. So
no, I was not referring to Chad.
No, and I apologize for that. But I guess it still doesn't. I guess it still doesn't change what I had to say. I understand.
I understand.
Yeah. To me, this carries no more weight than any of the other letters that I got. I mean, it really doesn't. But you're right. It tells us, and especially if you all are wanting to put, and we're going to know where Chad's at anyway when we have a motion to vote. But if you're all wanting to put Chad on the button here and get his opinion, that's up to him with what he wants to say or not say, and that could tell you where we're at. That could persuade or change your minds on how you guys want to make a motion on this too. I mean.
Yep.
Sometimes I love my job. I visited Esterline Brewing recently and was really impressed. It was my first time, and and I love what they're doing. I love it. I'm concerned about the space limitations. I'm concerned about parking. But to Thor's point, you arrive and it's full, you just go down the road, turn around, and wait for another try. Try it again later. So, I guess what I'm saying is if this request comes to the Board of Commissioners with a favorable recommendation, I'd be inclined to vote yes as a commissioner at a commissioner meeting.
Thank you for your candor.
Yeah.
Well, with that said, it appears two commissioners would certainly be in favor of it, referring to the letter, and then Chad. I see no reason why we should drag this out any further, and my recommendation would be go ahead for favorable approval for 24W rezone 6.
I'm sorry, I missed the second. Was that? Okay.
That was Trevor.
Just one point I will make is the basis of your vote is reasonable deference to the factors and not to perceived votes in the future. So I don't know if you want to potentially refer back to the factors as you base your vote as well.
And I agree, and I appreciate you pointing that out, and that we all have our opinion here, but we are still a subcommittee of the commissioners.
Sure.
And I think it's proper for us to take any and all information when making that decision. I think there have been times, I know there have been times in the past, irrelevant to anything that we're here for tonight, that I've made a decision to send it to the commissioners with no recommendation, because I have been put off a little bit about the fact that in a public forum, decision has already been made by the commissioners on how they're going to take care of something. So then I think that takes the responsibility that the commissioners give to us to do this part of the job and to give them back an answer and opinion. So I think as long as we're keeping the horse in front of the cart with information and how we glean from that information, I think it's appropriate to consider that. And I appreciate your comment, Jack. And I don't appreciate you. I understand what you're saying. It makes sense. So I do have a motion and a second on the floor, and the floor is open for further discussion before we go to a vote. Hearing none, we'll go to the roll call for a vote, please.
Travis Baker.
Aye.
Chad Banks.
Aye.
Dane Drew.
Aye.
Brent Emerick.
Aye.
Jack Green.
Yes.
Mark Johnson.
Aye.
Kim Kurtz-Seslar.
Aye.
Joe Wolf.
Aye.
Thor Hodges.
Yes. Okay, we'll move ahead then to the number 5 item on the agenda, which is which is 24. Well, we'll give everybody a moment here to give respect to the next issue on the agenda. We'll give everybody a moment to clear out. Moment has passed. We'll move forward. Item number 5, 24W rezone 7 redevelopment commission rezoning. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. So moving forward, 24W REZ7 is a rezoning request for approximately 120 acres currently zoned AG agricultural with an address of 6336 East Yellow River Road. It actually has frontage on both Yellow River Road and Lincoln Way. You'll see that in a second. It's kind of a V-shaped parcel. Overall, most of the acreage is used for agricultural fields. Approximately 13 acres is farmstead and wooded area south of that. The request is to rezone to IPM industrial park / manufacturing. There is no end user in mind at this point, so no specific site plan or a specific use. But this would be a proactive rezoning to permit industrial and or commercial development when such a user would come forward, or users, whether it be one single user of the entire property, a business park, multiple users on individual lots. All of those could be options. Looking at the table there, you see that the surrounding uses and zoning are agricultural. To the north and east, generally. To the south and west, you have industrial park manufacturing to the south. And I believe in the staff report, the written staff report, I erroneously put IPM to the west. I was incorrect. It's actually IN to the west. So the heavier industrial. You have industries immediately to the west, and then residences as you go farther out from that. As you can see on the aerial. So highlighted in blue is the subject property, and as I said, it's kind of a V-shaped lot there, triangle to the south of Yellow River Road with the other leg of the V parallel to Lincoln Way. To the south is US 30, to the south of that is SDI's rail plant, and then other businesses along that front onto 600 East. And then to the west is longstanding businesses that originally were Magnavox and now have become several others. Closer view of the property. You can see there the white specks that are the homestead in the western part of the property. For reference, the zoning of the overall area, light gray is IPM, dark gray is IN, intensive use. Red is generally GC commercial. There may be one or two BC in there. I haven't looked at every single property in this view. And then as you get into Quessy, you have some RR residential and some other uses there as well. So overall, though, the immediate properties are, again, AG and either type of industrial. Also for reference, the purple area is our Union TIF district, which is an economic development TIF district established in the early 1990s with the intention of encouraging and incentivizing industrial development along the US 30 corridor. Also of note is that orange area, which is a rail connect TIF district, which is related to Union, but far newer, having been established, I believe in 2012 or 2013. Again, it too is incentivizing development there in Rail Connect Park. And the petitioner, the Whitley County Redevelopment Commission, acquired this property with the intention of further industrial development as part of that TIF. Going to the comprehensive future character and land use map, the detailed view here. The circled area is approximately where the subject property is located. To the north of Lincoln Way is that mixed rural character type that I had already discussed in the previous case. The subject site and the area generally located between Lincoln Way and a rough line south of the railroad track is generally recommended as employment center. So the purplish, bluish, grayish area. That description, again, I will not read all of this, but employment center is generally intended to encourage larger scale commercial, industrial operations, things that have large employment bases. And that's why it's called an employment center. Not really trying to designate what type of use, but more the character of the uses being places where people go to work and a significant number. Generally, though, it's recommended that the uses be in conventional business park settings, but also some other recommendations that multifamily and perhaps some other housing types may also be supporting uses
as well as plazas and smaller retail or service commercial, not just office, again, with the intention of allowing for mixed use, or as the last line says, multifunctional campus-like environment as part of those developments. So it offers a large gamut of development types to be expected, all of which, though, come back to encouraging employment in this area. The specific primary uses and secondary uses are far less descriptive than what I just showed in the guidelines, but the primary uses being commercial office, light industrial, secondary uses being commercial retail, also service, I would lump in with retail. More intense industrial as a secondary use could be possible, civic, institutional, and a multifamily, and parks and open space as may be necessary and as appropriate to offer support to the employment base. Again, I won't go into all of the summary of the written staff report. I hope you've had a chance to get into that. A couple of highlights, though. The comprehensive plan does, again, call this out for employment, as did the previous comprehensive plan, and I believe the one before that. The TIF district has been implemented for more than 30 years now for this purpose, piecemeal, incrementally developed. Going to responsible growth and development, that is an important one. Utilities are available to this site, which is a driving factor for larger scale development, and so on that aspect it would be appropriate. Traffic with US 30, plans for US 30 coming up, and the governor's announcement last week of an interchange going in at 700 with an overpass at 600. How that affects this site is also an important thing to think through. The Redevelopment Commission is, as part of the future development of this site, is looking at and starting to plan for a connector between 600 East and Yellow River to alleviate the need for traffic going up to Lincoln Way and then back to 700. So this would be a key piece of making that achievable. Also, you do have numerous homes still in the area, notably the one that is within the interior of the V shape of this parcel. So that's another consideration about the overall location. So all of these different factors are part of what I'm recommending the commission to give, again, reasonable regard to. Not that I need to say that, but just some highlights of what I've said in the written staff report. So any questions for me at this point?
Thank you, Nathan. Dale, Kim, either one of you want to speak on behalf of this request, please?
Good evening. Dale Book, Whitley County Economic Development Corporation, representing not only the EDC but also the Redevelopment Commission. As Nathan said, this property has kind of been on our list of properties to potentially acquire should they become available. It did become available. We feel like because it is within the TIF district and it is in that industrial corridor, it made sense to acquire it and then make this request. There is no plan, there's no identified prospect for it, but it does give us the opportunity should one come up. A lot of companies that are on a tight time frame to do their project prefer that the proper zoning is in place. The TIF district employs over 4,000 people and about $250 million annually in payroll. And so it's a big economic engine for Whitley County. And we really were appreciative to have the opportunity to buy the property. The other thing, and I do want to echo what Nathan said, it also puts some land in our hands to help out the community or the county with what might be happening on 30, and if it does help us move both employees and goods and products should whatever happen at 600 interchange at 700. Again, no plans, but we were very purposeful in the zoning. We're not looking to, replicate anything like SDI. This is the light industrial manufacturing. The type of leads that I see for larger properties, I think, Rail Connect has one piece of property. It's about 8 acres. There's a 10-acre lot still available in Park 30. And so a lot of times what comes across my desk are opportunities for bigger pieces of land, a 20 or 30-acre lot. And this would provide that. The type of things we're seeing are, still a lot in the medical device, medical technologies, and drive through Park 30, and those are the type of companies that you can kind of imagine might potentially go on this site should it get rezoned and allow us to develop it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. We'll open up a public hearing. And again, this is the part where you get to come up and say if you're in favor of this or if you just don't like it. So the floor is now open.
Well, I can't believe we're still all here, so thank you for having this public hearing. I really appreciate it for the commissioners and for the staff that has organized this. I really do appreciate the opportunity. And my name is Diana Dupont. I'm a Whitley County resident, and my husband and I own a farm that's at 1676 South 700 East. And we produce corn, soybeans, and specialty flowers. And the reason I'm here tonight is I wanted to put a face to a letter that I wrote to you that expressed some concern about the redevelopment project as proposed by Dale and by the commission. And since there is no entity, or I guess you call it an end user in place at this moment to develop this property or redevelop this property, one could say, well, why now? Why do we need to rezone it now? And some of my neighbors have said flat out, no, we'll deal with it when it comes. We don't want to, I guess, take that step at this point, because why? Many other neighbors I've talked to, and I'm of this view, is that by rezoning it now, we show an intention. We have a good faith effort at this advanced planning, and we're being transparent about what is going to go forward. So for me, the designated commercial, and let me also say that knowing that I did not know this until Nathan kindly told me this, that the redevelopment commission had purchased the property. At the time that I went to visit him, I didn't know that. And so when I heard that, I mean, it's already, it's in the plan, it's in the TIF plan, it's, it makes sense, it's there. So I can see the rationale for that. And so, but if we're going to go ahead and rezone it with your recommendation forward, I'd like to ask that there's some insurance that the property would not be at some later date, maybe rezoned heavy industrial. Or even maybe multifamily. I think I'm mishearing some things. Maybe it's just too late for me, but I did hear there might be a multifamily use of it, and I think is that right?
Where that came from in the comprehensive plan, multifamily is a secondary use that may be appropriate in certain instances.
But you didn't think so for this? To me, it seemed like it was more light industrial.
I'm not making a recommendation at this point because, again, a specific development isn't proposed.
Because I think I would object to that too. I mean, going to heavy industrial or multifamily in that area. So we'd like to be assured that the proposed development be comprised only within what I'm understanding or recognizing upon discussion with nation and staff, what are considered contained businesses, like the 80-20 and sale right, the ones that are already along the commercial corridor and in the TIF district that really contribute to our community. And the reason why we feel this is that we already feel we have sufficient exposure. We're the farming residents directly north of SDI. So we already feel we have a pretty heavy exposure to industry in our daily lives. I mean, SDI is the soundtrack of our daily lives, and it's at nighttime, it is the canvas of our night sky. So we definitely are aware of its presence. So that's why we're asking for a more balanced or spread out. We understand the need for industry, and I'll comment on that. We want a more balanced or have it spread out if you're going to introduce more intense industry into Whitley County. We're also concerned, I went to the Propel 30 meeting last night, which was really informative, and there's going to be increased traffic, obviously, in the area because of what you're all going to do with the Propel 30. And so in addition, if you couple that with what this plan, the potential, light industrial, business park or light industrial, I can imagine those are some impacts on the local traffic conditions, as Nathan has mentioned, that really need to be considered, as well as the historian in me saying, how about Lincoln Way? Can we protect it? It is a historic site. And so there is some concern there. But in conclusion, I don't want to give the impression that my neighbors and I, the farmers north of this proposed area, that we're against industry. We are not. I mean, I think we've learned the lessons of outsourcing and sending every high school graduate to college. We get that. At the same time, we understand the benefits that have been brought to effectively planning communities and making sure that they're, healthily and happily and holistically integrated. And that's what we're asking for. And you can see even in the Esterline case tonight how challenging that is. Because here they are bringing such a nice agro-tourism. It fits into the character of our county. And yet it is pushing up against the neighborhood or the existing neighborhood. So how can we find these accommodations as we go forward? So in sum, without trying to be too hyperbolic, it seems to me that we're at another crossroads, like we were with the solar debate with respect to who we want to be as a county. And this commission has dedicated itself admirably and successfully, as I've carefully observed, in maintaining the agricultural character of Whitley County. And that is no easy task. I mean, tonight is a clear example. And through your comprehensive plan, the rewriting of the solar ordinance, and then your robust support of agro-tourism, as you did with the project for the Eshelmans, and as you are now doing for the Esterlines, it's pretty clear. You've got a real support there for the agricultural character, which is really special in Whitley County, and we shouldn't take it for granted. I've come from California. Jennifer, I guess, said she came from California. And if we could be, proceed cautiously, that would be a good thing, given how Southern California is such a disaster. And you go to Sonoma County and it's absolutely gorgeous how they've integrated the agro-tourism, and they still have industry, and they still have light manufacturing, and they manage it all beautifully. So to me, this is another instance where we have an opportunity to follow suit that you all did with respect to the solar debate. So, help us to continue building our county in this productive and holistic way and a balanced way. And consider that the rural neighborhoods and the producing farms that are above SDI would like to continue in that manner and have, some, I guess I would say, just consideration that we're in this, we're right above the commercial corridor. We understand it, we support it, but give us the consideration that we are abutting you all in that effort. So with that, I respectfully submit for your consideration. Thank you.
Anyone else, please?
My name is Thomas Myers. I live at 6561 East Lincoln Way with my wife Elizabeth. We are directly north of the proposed property on East Lincoln Way. So you can kind of see it right at the top of the rectangle there. We've lived at that residence for 33 years, just before the TIF. We are certainly opposed to the rezoning, and I would ask for consideration to hear me why from that standpoint. First, there are 18 residents around this property and small family farms. Just heard from one, right? I think from what I'm hearing, seeing, talking, that all of this is being put in and brought down through the TIF just for TIF. I'm a business guy. I'm not going to talk to you about business. I love business. Been in business all my life. Small businesses, I've owned them, I've sold them, I've bought them, I've grew them. I understand business. But this property, to me, is very problematic. Look at the shape. The traffic that you're going to create, now that we know that 600 and 700 has a plan, and Steel Dynamics is going to help with that plan, the traffic is going to end up on East Lincoln Way. Plain and simple. There's no way around it. Even if you make a road between that industrial park to try to push some traffic away from that, East Lincoln Way already has a traffic problem, and they know it. It's going to make it worse, much worse, and it's going to complicate that. What I've seen as I've read this is there really wasn't a plan. They jumped at the property, they saw the property, became available, bought it, let's figure a plan out later. And to me, you and obviously then the commissioners, you need to work from a plan. So I'm going to quote some stats here. And these stats, I'm a tech guy. And if you want all of the sources, I'll give them to you. And the stats go to support why this starts to become problematic. And maybe it's beyond how you guys think, but I'm going to quote them. First is, we heard a lot about community, our community, right? And our community is around this area with the residents and the small family farms there. But we also have a traffic problem in this, which relates to commuting. So I want you to remember community and commuting. Whitley County population growth is dismal. It's grown at 0.4% average over the last 5 years. So basically, no growth in population. Whitley County growth of population is in the bottom half of all counties in Indiana. So our population growth is not growing last 5 years. Other counties in Indiana are growing 15 to 20%. Obviously, there's some of the bigger counties, Hamilton, Boone, Hendricks, Johnson. You can dive into why they're growing, but Whitley County is not growing. What is growing? Our GDP, right? TIF, industry, we just heard $1 billion quoted. That's the business growth. 27% growth over that same 4-year period. So that's business growth. Businesses are growing, population's not. So what's happening? It's a commuter county. And I see it because I live on East Lincoln Way. What are they doing? They're driving in, they're working, and they're driving out. So what does that mean for us? Your population's not growing, your businesses are there, dollars are there, which I'm a business guy, I understand. But what's happening is they don't want to live here. They want to live somewhere else. You heard the breweries and all of the stories tonight about a great business. They want to go there. They want to go to South Whitley because of that brewery. People are commuting in to Whitley County, working and going home. And that's what this area is going to turn into. And it's going to continue to make it that way going this way. Now, I'll draw that comparison to Lake County, Gary, Indiana. Nobody wants to be Gary, Indiana. Their population growth is 0. 0.1 over the last 10 years. We don't want to turn Whitley County, you're in that bottom half. And if we're not addressing this, population is going to continue to drop. And all we're going to be is industry, and nobody's going to live here. They're just going to come in, work, and go home. And they're going to go somewhere else to live. So I know there's a lot of money here. There's Steel Dynamics, 600, 700, an overpass, an interchange, all of that. But I ask you, look at the plan. Look at this property. It's so odd shaped. What's the plan for how the traffic's going to get where it needs to go? It doesn't seem like there is any. And now you've got a property in the middle of it, which is a residence and a farm and a woods. I mean, it just seems like, hey, let's just get the property, buy it, we'll figure it out later. So for me, I ask you, certainly I oppose the rezoning, but I also make sure that you pass all of these questions on and start to think through this and plan through it, because I think we're making a mistake. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, please? Last call? Yep, okay. Nope, there's a gentleman right behind you, so you're gonna wait now.
Do you swear or affirm that any statement you make tonight will be the truth? If so, say I do. I do.
Okay, my name's Walt Dittmer. My wife and I, and my address is 7280 East Old Trail Road, Columbia City. My wife and I own a farm just north of Lincoln Way. Lincoln Way at a certain time of the day is a nightmare to get on and off. You can get run over with farm equipment out there. And this is not going to help that situation one bit. They will not take US 30 because Lincoln Way is a racetrack. Because there's no lights, and this is going to get worse and worse. Another thing, we got a field tile coming out of our farm that goes through John Keck's ground, underneath Yellow River Road, into this proposed area. Here a few years ago, they put a gas line down 700, down Old Trail and down Johnson Road. They cut field tiles in two. They come back and fix the field tile. I don't know how many times. You know that, don't you, Mark?
They've messed up some tile.
Yeah. Okay, you can fix them when you're out there on the ground. What happens if they put a blacktop asphalt over the field tile and it goes bad? Who's going to fix it? Can you guys answer me that? Jack, can you answer me that?
No, I can't at this point.
Can you at any point?
You're talking about parking lots?
Yeah.
I think it's in the code of parking lot that if it's a county drain, they have to have access to that. Does the county have a right of way as far as, or do they have to reroute the tile around a impermeable to where they have access to fix a tile if they build a parking lot over this tile?
County surveyor, I defer to you. I have an
think we had
answer.
an issue like this prior to where they were going to pave over a county tile, and I think they had to replace all the tile prior to them paving.
So if it goes bad, they're gonna come back and refix it? Because I know how they fix some of them tiles. It's not right, the way they do it.
I can't. I mean, I don't know what is in there for tile, but I would say they're probably going to put all new. I would say they put all new plastic in before they would pave anything to eliminate future problems.
You say that, but you have no idea, really.
Is it a private tile or is it a county tile?
It's a private tile.
Then that's not county
That's a
jurisdiction.
difference.
That's not
So
our
what,
problem.
so the guy that, so we have to fix it
So
before they pave
you will
over
have
it?
to come to agreement with the people purchasing the property.
Who's purchased it?
Whoever
You guys,
purchased
Whitley
it.
County, right?
So,
Whitley County's purchased it? Is that right?
so the counties, it's redevelopment, so you can strike a deal with them or you can strike a deal with the person who purchases afterwards. Is what I would say.
Well, really, nobody knows the real answer. Nobody's got a clear
Those are
answer.
your answers and those are your options as far as I know. That's the way we would handle it at the county highway. Because if we have to replace a tile underneath the road, either we will dig up the road or we will search another avenue. We have bored underneath roads before. And that was my first thought was boring underneath to fix the tile and either lining it or installing another tile. So.
Yeah. You guys can buffalo a lot of people all the time, so I'm dead set against this.
I am Chrissy Wellman. I live at 6585 East Lincoln Way, which is directly north of the proposed property on the picture there. We have a small first-generation family-owned farm that does have livestock cattle on the property, along with everything else that we have. But I want to touch first on the traffic in the area. I know Union 12 is a little bit down the road from us, but within the first year of them being in operation, we had a fire. Our beans in our front field was caught on fire from a paper lantern that was let off down at a wedding reception or something. We've had paper lanterns and balloons stuck in our cattle fence, and actually have vets been out to remove those things from our animals, so nothing happened to them. I know that's kind of a far-fetched situation for this circumstance, but just be known that there are several farms with live animals in the area and are active working farms. Traffic on their food trucks nights is insane. Traffic on their wedding nights and the weekends is insane getting down there. Yesterday, I went to get my mail at 4:30 in the afternoon, and it took me 30 minutes to cross from my driveway across the street on a golf cart just to get my mail from all the traffic that's going down Lincoln Way. I kind of want to add with what Mrs. DuPont said about SDI. We all know that it's there. Our night sky is lit up orange most of the night. We hear trains, trucks, horns honking, all kinds of things, all hours of the day, all hours of the night. We know that it's there. We would definitely be opposed to adding anything that would bring more of that to our homes and our area. I would also like to go with what my neighbor Tom said, that Union 12 is a prime example of people coming and going in the area. Most people come to Union 12, they do their food trucks, they have their parties, they go back to Fort Wayne, they go back to these outlying areas. Granted, I am all for business coming into the area and more jobs and more benefits for people around and things to do, but I don't think that necessarily this area is one to house that. Union 12 has a major parking issue, major people flying down the road. We've had wrecks in our front yard. We've woken up to random cars in our driveway, all from things that have happened down there. Not saying that it would be the same with a business coming, but the traffic in the area just really can't support that. It is a huge issue. And then my last thing I would like to touch on would be the shape of the property. It is kind of strange to want to put some kind of business or industrial in, essentially, for us, our neighborhood, but then with a home kind of right in the middle of the shape. I don't understand how it would be broken up, or why, if there is no actual plans, why it's kind of a thing at this point. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, please? Last call. I will close the public hearing, and we'll turn it back to the commission, please.
Would you be willing to discuss the idea of Yellow River Road taking on the traffic that this may see? Like, give us a visual and talk about that a little bit.
Sure. All of that is still conceptual, of course, but as was mentioned, the Redevelopment Commission and planning staff, we recognize that traffic is an important thing, so we have been in those discussions. So give me a second here. So the working concept is to take, let me see if this should work. Work with Flagship Properties, the former Magnabox properties, and somehow get a collector road through there that would then, if I could draw out better, somehow get over here to what would be then the interchange at 700. This is conceptual, exactly alignment and so on are to be determined. If this particular property is developed, this may be a straight road, as I've sort of tried to draw here. It could be an internal road that curves, Yellow River Road, may be rerouted, so it's not a through road as it is now. That would probably be more likely the case if the owner of that triangle there in the middle were to sell. Opens up some additional rerouting possibilities. But conceptually, that's what I was discussing, was the idea of doing a connector between 600 and Yellow River 700 in order to avoid the idea of traffic coming up to Lincoln Way, which this intersection of 600 and Lincoln Way is already not a great geometry. Going through this curve, which is also not a great geometry at Yellow River and Lincoln Way, and then on over to 700 and back down to that new interchange. So by doing some sort of reliever, collector, connector, you reduce the additional traffic that would be potentially put onto Lincoln Way. That said, exactly what the county does with the Lincoln Way is a very important question for all parties going forward. As US 30 more solidifies in what NDOT's going to do, it's really important for the Plan Commission, staff, commissioners, everyone involved to figure out what is Lincoln Way going to be when it grows up. So,
will the traffic go down on Lincoln Way if it's a limited access highway without the stoplights? Is that what throws more people onto Lincoln Way right now? Yes and no?
Yeah, I would say yes. I would say yes.
I would, you didn't ask me, but I would concur. What we're terming it is, right now, Lincoln Way is generally classified as a major collector, with US 30 becoming a potentially freeway or expressway. Those are the recommendations in this area. then you lose the more local access, which Lincoln Way would almost have to pick up. So you would elevate from a collector to more likely a minor arterial for Lincoln Way.
Probably more semi-traffic. Getting to some of the
Some areas would be, yeah.
I think it would push up all traffic levels on all county roads, especially those running parallel to US 30, both north and south.
And Nathan, I'm wondering why this whole discussion has not been tied into the county's safety action plan.
The discussion of this property particularly?
Well,
or?
and in Lincoln Way in general.
I think it was, because there are some locations along the safety action plan that are on Lincoln Way, or excuse me, some locations on Lincoln Way that are in the plan.
Okay.
But it also goes to show that there are a lot of locations that are worse in terms of safety elsewhere in the county than Lincoln Way, because it looks at what the current situation is, not proposed or future.
Maybe we should have taken a slightly different approach.
It's still not yet been approved,
No,
so
no.
that could be an option.
Okay.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the requirements that the BZA would have for buffering and screening, and you know what I'm trying to say, like similar along Lincoln Way, similar in front of Kissinger or 5 Star, or what's required for that?
So if it's industrial, the BZA probably would not be involved because most industrial uses in ICAM are already allowed by right. So you'd be looking at subdivision platting, so any sort of conditions of approval, and of course platting goes through you. So if you want to require buffering as part of a plat, and that is what happened with Park 30, as well as 5 Star distribution, that they're separate. Both have separate buffering requirements as part of those plats. That definitely could be something you require as part of a development coming in. And in addition to that, development plans are required with any new primary industrial or commercial buildings. And so that's more of typically that is a technical check, more of a administrative check to make sure whatever was committed to during platting or rezoning and so on is followed through with. But there can still be opportunity for additional conditions to be placed as part of development plan too. But your biggest opportunity to make something a development context sensitive would be during the platting process.
My first thought is it's right next to everything else that's industrial. It's not like we're skipping 5 properties and trying to zone it into this, that it couldn't grow with the neighbors. It is an odd shaped property. You could sell the north one separate from the south and replat it, but
But it definitely would not fall into spot zone.
yeah, you look at everything around it.
Yeah.
having been on redevelopment commission before, I can say that this has been part of a long-term strategic plan for redevelopment for a lot of years. So I think conversations on this property have happened, you know, a decade ago. So it's not surprising to me. It fits our comprehensive plan. It fits the overall strategic plan of where we want to drive that commercial growth, industrial growth. To me, it makes sense. There's a lot of details that need worked out, like things like privately owned drains. That's a detail that needs to be worked out. That someone would need to go directly to the redevelopment commission and work out some sort of an agreement. I know that's commonplace for redevelopment to come up with these agreements with neighboring landowners.
We've got a lot of traffic issues we just don't know about that's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years too. But
I will say this, on the county highways radar, like depending on community crossing grants, it is on the list to be paid next year, as long as the funds are approved. So we redid West Lincoln Way this year. And that's the other thing.
Is that with improvements with as far as shoulder work, or is that just paving?
That is paved the way it is now. Anything else would probably be above the county's funding rate. And that was the next thing I was going to bring up with the Propel thing. Is are they going to offer grants to the local counties and areas to help to make the improvements for the increased traffic on the county roads? Because that's a question that's been asked, and it's sort of not, you don't get anywhere with it.
Well, we still have the same 4 options in front of us as we discussed on the last issue. Is anybody comfortable making a motion?
I'll make a motion. We approve or give a favorable recommendation that 24W rezone 7.
Second.
Sorry, where was the second?
Joe.
I have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion, please? Hearing none, we'll go to the roll call for a vote, please.
Joe Wolf.
Aye.
Kim Kurtz-Seslar.
Aye.
Mark Johnson.
Aye.
Jack Green.
Yes.
Brent Emerick.
Yes.
Dane Drew.
Aye.
Chad Banks.
Aye.
Travis Baker.
Aye.
Thor Hodges.
Yes. We'll move forward then to other business. It is on our agenda for the discussion for the shooting range tonight. We've been working on this for some time. We're not under a deadline for that, so I'm going to go ahead and postpone that discussion tonight. We'll look at that at our next meeting. With that being said, is there anything from the commission members for the good of the cause, please? We are adjourned. Thank you.